So this is sort of half on the fly. I've just put a few bits together ready. Screwdriver. If you saw my, I think it was a short or a short video, even if it wasn't one of the technical shorts, you saw a 3D print of the fascia being made, and the main body I'd already printed overnight. It has got some slight warping because it sat on the bed for 3 hours. So caveat is it is an old PC fan, so it is already time served. So I've been waiting for Mr. Amazon to deliver me some switches and DC jack plugs so that we can attempt to wire it up. So we have, I didn't know, I thought it had some like this. I think it was slightly smaller, couldn't find it anyway, and I had dug one of these out to do a little fly lead just to get the project running, but fortunately Amazon was cheaper and quicker than eBay, or it was, you know, wait a week to get it from AliExpress, who aren't flavour of the month with me at the moment, but that's another story on its own. Nothing to do with sales or purchasing. Well, it's to do with sales, but not anything I've got direct connection with. So this one is on Thingiverse. If you've got a printer, I'll put the link in. So this is a salvaged PC fan. It's got a little DC plug, so we'll probably have to snip a bit of that off and extend the wires. Just to reach the switch. Probably not. No, it's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Would have been too easy, wouldn't it? So, talking of AliExpress, let's see if the wire we had is actually copper. If I can actually undo the bloody bag. Right, let's go. I did buy this for doing building lighting, so it is a bit smaller cable, but I don't think the loader rating on this is going to send us in a plume of smoke. Yeah, that looks a bit too shiny. That's not copper. Probably plated aluminium. Good enough for what it's going to be used for, but so better get the soldering iron on and the old scraperoonie. Some proper solder. Bit of the JST plug. And when I'm stripping cables, if it all goes well, is to just break the insulation. Pop it off. I don't know whether it will show there without me zooming in, which is going to mess up the shot. So get it like that, so it's just pulled off, and then use it to twist the core very slightly, not heavily, so that you don't strain the cable. Try and get them out of the way of anything. Probably not going to work because they've spent years crammed in a PC. They're not going to want to be straight. Let's see if we're up to temperature pre. Yep. So, soldering for anyone. So you can see it's a freshly stripped wire. I prefer to use these over sponges because I was in the industry. Sponges became a bit fell out of favour because if people have the sponges too wet, they cause corrosion to the tip. They also stress the tip because you're obviously cooling it down and then it's heating up. These just scrape it clean and your job done. So we've got a freshly cleaned tip. Tin it with a little bit of solder, like so, and then place it on the wire and then solder and follow it down, and the wire is tinned. And the same with the other one, just a smidge of fresh flux and solder, and that one there, if you get a little bauble on the end, you can just use the iron to tease that off and then just remove it with your scraper. And that is how you tin the wire, and that will make everything 100 times easier than trying to do it all at the same time. So now we've cut them, I'll just trim them back a bit. So that's them ones. And just pop that out of the way. Hopefully we won't do anything to the PC with the weight of it on the keyboard. So helping hands are very helpful. So again, we can do the same method just to tin these. Now you can sometimes, once the flux breaches, and it's not great tinning this stuff, old Chinese wire. Yeah, it's not great stuff. I'll just clean the ends off. Get rid of the rubbish. So the panel. So we've got our DC socket. I've already determined that the shorter lug is the positive pin, which is the centre conductor, which marries up with the plug in the wall transformer I'm using. I was doubtful that that was going to fit that, but it did. Check that. So we'll pop that in. Could solder it on beforehand. It's cross-threaded. Hopefully that clears okay, yeah. You never know with these 3D prints whether everything's quite as good as it's going to appear when you get to actually build the thing. I've had a few where they're not quite as good as you thought they were going to be because doorways don't match up with plans and things. So we'll pop that out of the way. pass our red wire through. There's a little hole in these tags so you can pass the cable through. And just get my pliers to nip them up a bit. I can't see too well myself, let alone showing you. This is going to be an overhead cam. I haven't got facilities to zoom in. And as you can see, the fumes coming off the solder flux is ironically what we're making, so that will draw that away from you. So I'll let it cool a sec. Looks okay. Any little strays I'll just nip off. I have to put it up to the light because middle-aged eyes aren't working. If you wanted to go belt and braces, you could have slid a little bit of heat shrink on there, but so we've got our live cable. We need to splice the neutral straight to the fan. So we'll peel that back. Is this going to split very well? No. Let's try again. I had to get some cable years ago. That was figure of 8 like this. It was solid strand. It was an absolute nightmare. You could not split it down like that. Every time it would just destroy the insulation and strip it all away. So again, we'll go for the little attempt at pinching. I have got a fancy pair of strippers, but I don't know whether they'll go to cable this small. And they're a bit large and cumbersome for small work like this. So again, clean the tip as we've had it sat there a while. And again, a little bit of solder on the tip of the iron. And then bring it through and down. And that will tin that cable. And then we'll find a suitable bit of heat shrink. I always put the offcuts back in here and they always disappear to the bottom, and then you can't get the damn things. So I end up cutting another piece up. This is the smallest one in here, so is it going to be too small? No. Right, I'll go for a bit. That 15mm. Snip that off, and let's remember to thread it on the wire before we solder it. Yeah, we've all done that, haven't we? Join our two as a crossover. Just twist those together. Try and get a little. There's always a bit at the end that sticks out. So again, clean the iron. Little bit of solder. Flows. Job done. And then we'll just push the sleeving over. Stray bit off there. Get it about half and half. Now, we all do it. If you're going to use the iron to heat shrink, don't use your soldering tip piece. Use the top of the shank here, where you're not going to contaminate the tip, and just a quick pass over so that you don't go and melt it and ruin the job you were trying to do. So we've got the switch here now. That's normally a, as you can see, a spade type connector. So again, just to I'm not going to bother crimping up, so we will try and get the iron in and tin them again. So again, a bit bigger, so a bit of solder, that will help run the heat over the tag, and that's it, we've tinned it. And just swap positions and do the same to the other one. Bit on the line, you can see straight away that's almost instant. You're not using the iron to heat up a flat piece of metal with minimal contact. A little bit of solder on the tip helps flow over the surface and get the heat in quicker. So now we've got an on and off. Probably going to have to extend that wire just a smidge by the looks of it. Let's fit it in the bezel, as this could be where we might have to get the file out, just to give that a little bit more. Don't want to go and break the lid when we're this far in, do we? It is going. Let's just get it down there. And I can push down with even weight. That went in a snug fit. So yeah, that's not going to be long enough. So we've got a bit of this extra red, so let's pretend we know where the cutters are. There we go, and start again. So rinse and repeat, back to the iron, tin everything. If it's going to get soldered, pre-tin it. That's done. Whoops. A little bit too much pressure there. Rid of your rubbish. So, once again, a little bit too much there. So, one in, one out. There's a little bit of sleeving. I did see a red bit fall down here. I bet I can't find it. Oop. There she blew. Oh damn. It's fell in the pan and fell out the other side. Right. A bit long, but might as well use it. The uppercut's not going to be any use to man the beast. So cross over and twist again. Keeps moving on there. Back in. Well, because they're already tinned, minimal amount of solder, and job's done. Just squeeze that sleeving back on, get it central, shank of the iron, trying to avoid melting any of your precious plastic that wasn't intended to be done. And we can get again. Voila. Hopefully. It might not be voila when I can see it with my glasses, but no, that's alright. Stevie Wonder would be happy with it. And again. Hopefully that'll stay put long enough to do this one. So looks good. Clean the iron, should be ready to switch off. Just check that joint. Yeah, a little whisker there. So if you're doing circuit boards, be mindful that cutting your whiskers away doesn't end up in some component of your circuit board. Just get a stray bit of plastic away from there. Let me get these out of the way before I knock them all over. Right, so my little pack of shrinkies. So let's just walk through everything. We've got the live connection going to the switch from the supply point, earth direct from the supply straight to the fan. So they all fit in this little cavity out of the way. As you can see, this one came with a grill from the original PC fan, which means you could put a piece of media there and obviously it won't foul the fan. All ours used to have when we was at work, they were mains electricity powered, in a slightly larger cabinet than this obviously. They look like a Scotch-Brite type pad. There's nothing funky and fancy about them. They're only designed to pull the fumes away. They're not going anywhere, they're just moving them away from you breathing them in, and dispersing them around the room for everyone to share. Unless you want to spend thousands of pounds on really fancy ones. which we had these sort of things for years, and shower fans we used in our cabinets for our solder pots. So that should be it. Let's see if it's pop, bang or fizz. Right, so plug it in, get the knot out of the lead, because we've always got to have a knot in the lead, haven't we? So plug in there, switch on. Fan does sound like it's struggling a little bit, but that, as I said, it is an old one. Obviously you're going to get a bit of drumming noise. Simple thing is a little bit of foam that I can't find. Let's just try this for now. I've got some sponge. Doesn't matter what way you orientate it, obviously the cable's in the way, so although if you wanted to turn it around the other way you could just move the fan in the opposite direction. But you have it drawing away from you, not blowing on the job. Which brings me to another thing I see people doing, is blowing the solder when you've just soldered something, and you go, don't do that. Rapid cooling of the joint can cause dry joints, which means your joint can fail or be weak, or it will fail sometime down the line. So if we imagine, I'm now going to melt some holes in this foam, but our little circuit board is here or something, and well, look, well, it's picking that up on camera before I drop a molten ball of solder on the thingy. So you see the flux is being drawn away, and that was a bit of a tired. Let's see if we've got some tip tin. Really smoke this one. So tip cleaner tins up your tip and revives it. So if you're going to start soldering and you're wondering what to buy other than the iron, tip cleaner, a scrubber, not the wet sponge. 60/40 lead solder. Flux, usually optional as an extra, because these do contain, they're called rosin core, so inside there is a multiple channel of, it's like coax inside. The flux is already in it, as you can see, that's why it smokes. Sometimes you do need extra flux. This is a solder paste which you use with the hot air. But I have got probably another video planned later down the line of going through this. There's this sort of stuff which you can use. This is a thicker, I think this one's got a brush. So you can paint that on a joint. Very lightly, you don't need to go mad with it. Or there are, well, one we had was called White Flux, which is very similar to the stuff DCC Concepts sells. It's almost sort of alcohol thin, very expensive, which is why the DCC Concept stuff is probably as expensive as it is, which is why I haven't got any. And I just broke the eyeglass on my aging helping hands. So that, one of these I would say buy, either with the magnifier or not. I've got an electric one with 3 different magnifying lenses on it and LED lights and all sorts of kibbly bobbly-ations on it. So yeah, if you want me to do a more in-depth video of bits and pieces you may or may not need for model railway and basic electronics, is stuff like this. Little soldering tweezers with a solder won't stick. These are ceramic ones, but I've got EFD ones as well. So that is that. So if you've got someone that can 3D print you a cabinet, there are as many variations of this on the internet as you can think of. There's some really basic ones that are just basically a stand where you slot the fan in. Sort of a bit too simplistic really, but yeah, I literally didn't know how successful this was going to be until I shot this video. So other than a bit of foam on it, just to cut down the vibration, I think I would tend to use it on its side because it gives it the greater work area and it keeps that cable out of the way. Ideally, I don't know why they didn't put the hole in the side, but then you could just modify it and drill a hole in there and move it. And as I said, it's not essential to have a filter screen in there. So that was it. All you need to do is 3D print, have a fan, 8 of the coarse thread screws, one of these little switches and a DC jack plug, and you're away. And you don't have to breathe in the stinky fumes.